Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Post Raw number 58 here on the Wrestleview YouTube channel. I'm Mike Tedesco, the editor-in-chief of Wrestleview.com, and hey, I have a good Raw to talk about tonight, so I'm pretty pleased right now. Even though it's been a long day for me, my paternity leave officially came to an end today, so it's back to work for me. Victoria is still at home with the baby, so she gets to enjoy, and I unfortunately have to be parted from child, but it is okay. Somebody's got to make some money around here, so I was a little bit dreading having to do a 3-hour show tonight, a 3-hour recap after trying to get back in the swing of things after going back to work. I haven't been there in 3 weeks, and I was gifted a really, really good episode of Raw. A really, really good episode of Raw. A good follow-up to what wound up being a really good Smackdown this past Friday. We got the entire WWE crew stuck in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, trying to get home. They couldn't get home. Dangerous to... I mean, how could they not think that something was going to happen? You're in Saudi Arabia. It's a 14-hour flight back home. You got to get out of there. You know, thinking about your 14-hour flight, there really can't be any delays. You have no time really to mess around if you're going to make it back for your live Smackdown on Friday night. They were cutting it close. I almost saw it when I heard that it was on Thursday. I was like, gosh, why wouldn't they have moved it to Wednesday? At this point, like, what's it matter? You're having a pay-per-view in the middle of the week no matter what. No one watches the Crown Jewel shows on WWE Network, honestly, and people usually just catch the highlights and then hate tweet about it. So what's the point of having it on Thursday? The people in Saudi Arabia will show up Thursday, Friday, they'll show up on Wednesday, it doesn't matter. It's on early in the day, so it's not going to interfere with NXT, and you have everybody back with a day buffer in between. I mean, I think maybe they'll learn their lesson and do it that way next time, because I mean, you can't afford this twice. They're lucky that Survivor Series was coming up and they could fly a whole bunch of NXT talent up to Buffalo, New York to salvage a show. And they're lucky that Daniel Bryan refused to go over to Saudi Arabia. So, you know, at least you have some main event caliber talent waiting in Buffalo to do the show. They got really lucky. Obviously, NXT was planned to be part of Survivor Series anyway, so it just kind of made sense. Everything was very fortuitous for them. Everything was very fortuitous. And how would they follow up? Well, we got the follow-up on Raw tonight, so we'll talk about that. I'm looking forward to talking about that. But first, let me say hello to everybody in the chat room that's here with me tonight. We have Mr. Nafis Sadat, always with us, one of our super fans, absolutely. Randy M., when you cut the feed of the pay-per-view, you get a receipt. Who knows if that's true? It doesn't. It sounds like, from what I heard, that was just a Hugo Savinovich thing. And hey, you know, not here to speculate. Something happened. It was mostly mechanical errors. They really went out of their way to say it was mechanical errors, to the point where it was so heavy-handed that it almost sounds like it can't be mechanical errors, because it's a wrestling company and everything's a work, and all they're really good at is deceiving. You know, that's part of the job, is to deceive you into, you know, thinking that you're watching, you know, some sort of simulated fight and stuff like that. So we are conditioned to think everything's a work. I don't know. If 175 American citizens were being detained in Saudi Arabia, someone would have picked up on that. They're wrestlers. They leak everything to, you know, Dave Meltzer or Mike Johnson or whoever. They leak. They'll talk about it. They talked about frustration. Yeah, those guys picked up on, I heard from a lot of guys they were frustrated. There was a lot of weird things going on, but no one ever said outright that they were being held hostage or being detained. Wrestlers are in the business of promoting themselves. That's what they're like really good at. That's how they make their money. So, if it was a big story like that, they would have leaked to somebody from CNN. They would have, a group of them would have gotten together and called up CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Somebody would have called somebody, and this would have been a story. It would have been a big story. It didn't happen. Rusev's tweet was something. It definitely put everybody thinking that way, but it wasn't what it looked like. Carl Anderson's wife tweeted the same thing, but that could just be overreacting. Who knows? But it's definitely a fun story. It's definitely something to, it's fun to speculate about it. It's fun to wonder. I mean, we're not going to get the full story of what happened there until probably not for another 6 months to a year, when someone on the roster inevitably is going to be let go, quit, let their contract expire, be future endeavored out, and they're going to sit down with some interviewer, maybe Chris Van Vliet or somebody like that, Chuck Carroll from CBS Sports, and then they're going to tell their side of the story, how they understood it, and we'll probably get somewhere close to an actual real story from that. Or years later it'll come out, and we'll hear it on some podcast somewhere. But we're not going to get the full story for a while. But I'm almost 100% positive if there really was a real detention of the of the entire WWE roster, we'd have heard about it. Somebody would have said something about it. Trevor Mishke is in the chat room tonight. Conrad better lead off with this on Bruce's podcast this week. I would check that out. And Bruce will just say Vince did nothing wrong and everything's great, and then his voice will become muffled as he travels further up Vince's rectum. Quentin Walters in the chat room, one of our super fans. How is the little princess doing, Mike? Oh, let me tell you, the little princess is a sweetheart. I wish that, it's weird to say, I've spent probably the last 57 episodes of Post Raw talking about how Raw is too long, but I wish Raw could be longer, because as soon as Raw started, she was basically out. She fell asleep. She was out on the tummy time mat. And honest to God, as soon as Raw was coming to an end, it was getting close to the DQ finish. That's when she woke up. She must have sensed that it was coming to an end. So she's smart. Smart kid. Daniel Shell in the chat room. When's her heel turn? Oh, well, it depends. Liliana is on the WWE face heel train right now. Sometimes at bedtime, she's a total face. Like last night, she slept for 6 hours straight in the crib at night. It was great. And then there will be some nights where she turns heel on us and we'll just have a horrible night and just be up all the time and just keep going and going, crying and gassy and all that stuff. So she's just like flipping back and forth, face heel, kind of like a Dolph Ziggler Big Show kind of thing, So like that. Yes, she's like the Big Show. Everybody's saying it. Sweet Lou in the chat room tonight. Louis Veraldi in the chat room. We got Kit Dyson. We got Lorraine Lafferty. Moved to Canada for better for better parental leave. Gosh, my husband took 1 year. That's amazing. Here in America, or at least in New Jersey, you get 12 weeks of paternity leave, but you don't get paid for those. So it's almost like you have to go back to work. Mashoon Walls in the chat room tonight. Good evening, King Tedesco and Peeps. Very good. Right. Anybody else I missed? Billy Hefner, I know, is in the chat room. Hello, Billy. And I'll figure it out. I have to really scroll up. There's been a lot of chat in the room tonight so far. Baby Tedesco versus Becky, Mania 55. I like that. Becky's retirement match. Yeah, Liliana will take her out. I like it. All depends if she holds the 24/7 title or is chasing it. Yeah, no 24/7 title tonight. This Raw was pretty good. It didn't need the 24/7 title where the joke is way past its prime, weighing the show down. So that's fine. All right. So let's talk about Monday Night Raw. Coming off of the Crown Jewel show. No real follow-up to the Crown Jewel show other than Seth Rollins kind of just crying basically just begging people to like him. Oh, we did have a little follow-up, I guess, with Brock Lesnar, so I guess I lied. All right, we have WWE Champion Brock Lesnar making his way to the ring with his advocate Paul Heyman. They quit SmackDown. Brock is back on Raw. It's almost like the draft never happened. Honestly, it's like this roster, except for who? Randy Orton? Has there really been any change to the Raw roster whatsoever following the draft? Seriously. What other big acquisition did Raw get that significantly changes the landscape? We have a whole bunch of, underutilized guys on the roster, which I love, and they're doing a really good job with some of these people. But other than Randy Orton coming over, there's nothing. And now that we have Brock back and there's no title on Raw again for, the foreseeable future, there's no difference at all. None whatsoever. The only thing that's different is there's no more wild card rule, so we don't get, as many people, big names showing up. But that also is good because it gives time for the underutilized guys to become utilized. So that kind of works out. Daniel Shell asking, how's Victoria doing? Victoria's doing well. She's trying to sleep when the baby sleeps. So it's tricky because sometimes the baby don't want to sleep. All right. So we got Brock in the ring. Paul Heyman, so it was like after they announced that they quit on SmackDown, which allegedly was something that, or should I say reportedly, allegedly, whatever, same thing, was something that they were saving for WWE Backstage, which premieres officially tomorrow night on FS1 at 10 o'clock or 11. No, I think it's 11 o'clock on FS1. They were going to have Brock and Paul on Backstage, and they were going to quit, and then that was supposedly supposed to be it. But with the whole crew detained in Saudi Arabia, they needed something to get people to tune in. They couldn't say that NXT was going to invade because then that would ruin the surprise, so we got Brock Lesnar coming on SmackDown. They quit, they come over to Raw, and everybody's like, how does that work? This whole draft is stupid. It's rendered totally meaningless, with this whole quitting thing, and he can just go to Raw. So they kind of explained it in the best way that they possibly could, which is a half-assed way of doing it, which is basically how this entire draft came together. The War Room thing, the reading off of the picks, the even trading Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross was botched and ham-fisted. This entire draft has been just totally lame. We'll see what it does to ratings. It's, after the Superstar shakeup, it's funny because I was, I get into like these like modes where I get like really curious about things. I get curious about numbers. I get curious about metrics, especially, covered up by the Crown Jewel show and this whole thing with Saudi Arabia and the superstars being detained. WWE's financials came out for quarter 3, and they were under revenue again. They missed their mark on the revenue. They were down $2 million or something like that from where they were last year. So they're dropping. And in the report, they had no choice. You have to be honest with your shareholders. They are losing money in merchandise and live event attendance. And those were usually the metrics that really grade interest in the product. Yeah, it's cool if people watch on YouTube, and those numbers always go up, but and I'm sure you can make revenue off of YouTube, of course. But are you getting people to come out to the shows? Are you getting people to buy your merchandise? Those metrics are going down. So fan interest is low, revenue was down. So like in that vein, I was kind of interested in just ratings. So I just went back from the beginning of the year to now, and I just compiled all the ratings, and I just saw the trend. After the Superstar shakeup, they were rocking and rolling. Honestly, they weren't bad numbers. Raw was averaging about 2.9 million to 3 million people. I get it; it's WrestleMania season and all that stuff, but these were significantly sustained good numbers. Because I've seen WrestleMania seasons where the ratings fluctuate big time, but after Superstar shakeup, and they sent a lot of people off of Raw to SmackDown, the numbers drop, and they haven't been recovering. So we get things like the 24/7 rule to try to undo what they did without completely eliminating it. They do, try to get people interested. 24/7 Championship. USA Network makes them Bring It On, which turned out to be a great thing for the summer. It turned out to be one of the summer's best angles and some of WWE's best comedy in the last 20 years. And then we get Raw Reunion to try to get some people onto the show. Unfortunately, for the entire Raw Reunion, they spent basically the entire time not having the legends put over any of the young talent. So when Raw rolled around next week, it was back to normal. It was like, it was just a regular number. No residual effects from Raw Reunion at all. And it just it's kept going down and kind of staying even in the low twos. They got to do something here. I don't know if this brand split is working. I don't know what the solution is either, because if they get rid of the brand solution, the brand thing, let's say it's, Raw and SmackDown are just united, it's one roster, it'll probably just go back to Raw as, Raw will have some matches and then they'll just do the rematches on SmackDown, or SmackDown will have the matches and they'll do the rematches on Raw. Because that's how they were doing it before. Can they, it's like you almost have to have split rosters, but splitting the rosters when you don't have a lot of star power, you don't have the star power that you had when they first did the draft in 2002. There aren't that many established stars as there were then. It's going to really affect. So I don't know it's not an easy answer. It's not an easy answer. Randy M is saying it's 1993-94 all over again. Yeah, those were dark times. Those were definitely dark times. We're not there yet, but it's interest level is down, and that is 93-94. It is, we're supposed to be living in the golden age of wrestling, and ratings for all wrestling shows, not just WWE, AEW, they're low, and they drop every week. People aren't as loyal as they used to be. There's more stuff on TV, of course, but I've said it before. WWE is very much like the old GM saying that we had for the country, in the United States at least. As General Motors goes, so goes America. Well, as WWE goes, so goes the wrestling world. And if they're down, wrestling itself is down. WWE needs to make a comeback, and I gotta tell you, they'll do it if they do what they did on Raw tonight. And this is the third Raw in a row that I thought was pretty good, because they're kind of doing a reset of Raw with bringing in all these new talents and establishing them and taking some pretty good angles, concentrating on three big things and trying to make them like really must-see TV. Now, it's a miss with the Bobby Lashley Rusev thing. It is a miss. That love triangle thing is a miss. But even that wasn't as offensive tonight. It seems like it's getting better as they kind of tone it down a little bit, and kind of incorporate some decent wrestling in it too. So anyway, I'm talking a lot about it. Let's get back to the thing. So how did they explain Brock Lesnar leaving SmackDown? Well, Raw traded away Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross to SmackDown for 2 future draft considerations. And I was like, wait a minute. They're not going to say that Raw traded Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross to get Brock Lesnar. They're not going to say that, are they? Well, they didn't, so I don't know why they did that. But Lesnar has a no-cut contract because he has a Jew for an advocate. WWE can't fire Brock Lesnar. They have a substantial investment in him, and he has used the benefit of that investment. Lesnar's contract will be assigned to Raw. That doesn't mean Roman Reigns can quit SmackDown or Seth Rollins can quit Raw. Lesnar is special and is entitled to do whatever he wants to do. He's better than everybody, and he's better than all the bitches in the back that think they're tough guys and can take Lesnar on. They love the word bitch now on WWE. It's kind of like when Ronda Rousey started saying it a few months ago, and then they kind of laid back on it. Now as Elton John said, the bitch is back. We got a lot of bitch references here. Great song, by the way. Definitely check it out. So essentially, how do they explain Brock Lesnar quitting? Because he can do whatever he wants. So that's how they explained it. All right. But the big thing, why are they here? They're hunting for Rey Mysterio. Where is Rey Mysterio? They want Paul Heyman imitates people from Long Island, says that Lesnar could slap everybody and he would do nothing. Rey Mysterio is not man enough to defend his punk son Dominic against the onslaught of the Beast. Someone tonight is going to stooge off where Rey Mysterio is, and Lesnar is going to commit a felony against him. If he has to turn the entire Nassau Coliseum inside out and upside down like an F5 as touchdown, he will do it. And he gives the sign of the cross in nomine Patri et Filii et Spiritus Sancti in the old Latin, and they're on their way. That was fine. I kind of like that. Kind of sets the tone for what we can expect. I thought it was going to be for the rest of Raw. I thought it was going to be Brock Lesnar just in random segments just killing people. They kept it contained to the first hour, so it paid off really quickly. So that's kind of it's better that way. If you drag it out a little bit, it probably could get old with him beating up people. But man, we got a really, really sweet little segment of him beating up a stagehand. I got to show you the GIF of it because it's just so enjoyable to watch. Let me see if I could pull this up for you. All right, here we go. Oh, of course, OBS doesn't want to cooperate, so let me do this. All right. Brock Lesnar just killing. There we go. Yeah, look what he did to this guy. Oh, I love that. Just throws him. A piece of trash, garbage. Get out of here. Brock Lesnar, if used correctly, is a lot of fun. He is a lot of fun. That was a fun usage of him. Him walking around backstage, calling the guy, "Hey, amigo! Amigo!" What? Where's Rey Mysterio? Just him screaming "amigo" and just doing like Lesnar can't, for whatever reason, he's really strong. He's super strong. The guy can't scream. He can't do that stuff. He can't yell. It just sounds like a little child sometimes, and it was hilarious. Randy M also making a good point. Why inch levels down? There's also tons of streaming services. I'm sorry, I just caught that right now as I got back to the chat. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff peeling you away from this stuff. Fox would never be okay with USA having the same people, I guess. But it's WWE's company, and ultimately they, Fox want. I'm sure Fox would be okay with better ratings. If it meant, we can't have certain people on the show the way we want every week. All right. So Lesnar's just killing people. We come back from the break, and he kills another guy backstage. He finds him in a car, kicks the car door out. Just absolute beast. Love it. Kabuki Warriors versus Charlotte Flair and Natalya. They put over Natalya and Lacey Evans having the first women's match in Saudi Arabia, which I discussed with our great webmaster Paul Nemmer on Wrestleview Live, number 67, where we recap Crown Jewel. If you haven't seen that, definitely check it out. It is available on demand on the Wrestleview YouTube channel, and also you can download it wherever you like to get your podcast from. You can definitely listen to us talk about that match. It definitely was history-making. I don't, it's like, I guess if you live in America where we're kind of, like where I'm kind of, we're lucky to live where we do and have the freedoms that we enjoy. I didn't quite grasp the magnitude of it until Paul, who lives in Lebanon, said that this was all over the news. Women having a match in Saudi Arabia was a big deal. Is it culture changing, or are they going to stop forcing them to wear hijabs and this and that? Probably not, but it's a step in the right direction, I guess you could say. Yeah, not bad at all. It was special, and you felt that it was special when you heard the crowd and you saw the reactions of the people. This tag match was not that special. The Kabuki Warriors, Charlotte Flair and Natalya, it went a little too long for my liking. It went 2 segments, and right away you could tell that there was a hiccup with their planning of that, because the crowd in Nassau Coliseum they just weren't into it. And in fact, I have to say, I was really disappointed with the crowd in Nassau Coliseum tonight, because they got a really good show and they didn't show up for it. They acted like all of them were coming off of paternity leave and had no energy. It's like, come on. Like Adam Cole, Seth Rollins, you got a really great segment with Triple H and Seth Rollins where he's teasing him to come to NXT. You got the whole invasion thing. You got Brock Lesnar killing people. There was good stuff on this show tonight. Good stuff on the show, and they just did not show up for any of it. Very disappointing. And I'm very surprised because it's Long Island. It's New York. This is a pretty hot territory for wrestling. This is the same building that they had Evolution in. And I think everybody remembers the crowd reactions from Evolution. Total surprise that that everything that the women did was just super over and super red hot. That crowd showed up. They didn't show up tonight. But again, this wasn't a great match. It was good, but clunky in spots. This is the second time in a row I've seen Kairi Sane in a match on Raw where they're just kind of bumbling through things every now and then. I don't know if it's... I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's nerves. I don't know if it's a little bit of a language barrier in the ring or unfamiliarity working with some people, but, they got to tighten that up. They got to tighten it up. And just so you know that they're the tag team champions, they lost by submission. So that's how can you tell who the tag team champions are? Whatever tag team is losing every week, that's your tag team champions in non-title matches, of course. Then they get a title match and then they mysteriously remember how to win. Was not a fan of Natalya tapping out Asuka to the sharpshooter, but it is what it is. It's like Asuka's kind of hot right now in terms of being a heel. And she got the whole green mist thing. Does she need to be submitting right now? I don't think so. We're trying to, kind of get Asuka back on track. Because essentially since losing the title to Charlotte Flair 2 weeks before WrestleMania to set up the main event of WrestleMania, and Asuka really had nothing to do after that. She's disappeared for the entire year. Been gone. Nothing of note from Asuka whatsoever. In fact, I think she went solid whole months without being on television at all. So we're trying to get her back on track. We're trying to get over at Kairi Sane. Does Asuka need to be losing by submission right now? That's tough. Can she lose by roll up? After missing the mist and Natalya rolls her up? Yeah, that's fine. But submission is just so decisive, and I don't know. It's just not for me. Randy M saying she's the richer version of Riho. I like Riho. I know everybody kind of is down on Riho a little bit. I've seen a lot of stuff saying that Riho isn't good in the ring and stuff like that. But she's small, and I think that Riho is so good. I think that the talent that she faces isn't up to her level. So I think the matches sometimes look a little clunky because she's in there with someone like Nyla Rose. Nyla Rose is a huge person. How are they supposed to sell for somebody small like Riho? How are they, they don't really know how to be in the ring with them. So it is what it is. I like Riho though. I think there's really something special there. Okay, so after the match, it's like the match never happened. Brock Lesnar walks out while they're celebrating, walks up to the table. I thought about saying that this was distasteful. Paul Heyman goes right up to Jerry the King Lawler. He says, "King, you know everything. Where is Rey Mysterio? If you don't tell us where Rey Mysterio is, I'll unleash the beast on you. And if I unleash the beast on you, Jerry Lawler, no one will resuscitate you when you die on the air again." And I was like, really? Like, kind of tasteless, kind of tacky. I don't like stuff like that, but they kind of poke fun at it. Jerry Lawler pokes fun at it on commentary, so I guess it's fine. And enough time has passed. I mean, it's been, 7 years since he had the heart attack on the air. I think it was 2012 that happened in September. Yeah, September 2012. So it's been 7 years. So I guess enough time's passed and he's doing okay. But still, sometimes they just say things for shock value. I guess as long as the person's not actually dead. Dio Madden steps up, of all people, and he receives an F5 for his troubles. Of course, my hotkeys aren't working tonight, so I have to show you him going through the commentary table. Dio Madden just getting crushed by Brock Lesnar. Good stuff. And usually when something like that happens, they go to, they bring out another commentator who's backstage, and because they have to keep the 3-man crew. Well, after Dio Madden got taken out, it was just Vic Joseph and Jerry Lawler. And it was really good. You don't need 3 people on commentary. You just don't. I guess for pacing and like kind of like allowing somebody to catch their breath, I guess it's okay. But you really don't need it. They proved it tonight. They showed it. We've known it for a long time. Dio Madden's, I like him. He's trying hard. He works hard. But I'd really like a 2-man crew, and I liked what Vic Joseph and Jerry Lawler were doing. Jerry Lawler's been very good on commentary, by the way. Very good. And Vic Joseph is starting to find his groove, too. So after he attacks Dio Madden, Rey Mysterio runs up from behind, cracks him in the leg with a metal pipe, and just beats him down the ramp. They did an angle where Lesnar has to be helped out, and Jerry Lawler kept saying he heard that Lesnar couldn't even leave the arena on his own, under his own power. Mysterio hits him in the face of the WWE Championship, later goes on to challenge him for the championship, which is accepted. So it's Rey Mysterio versus Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series for the WWE title. So they're not doing, they won't be doing Brock Lesnar versus The Fiend versus Adam Cole. So, I mean, like, they're doing a whole bunch of champion versus champion matches, but not for the titles. I guess the titles will be on the line. Puts a little more skin in the game, makes everybody a little more interested to see the shows, because really, like, do people really tune in to see a battle of brand supremacy in brands that they don't really believe in the first place? Does anybody care? Like, Raw and SmackDown were just separated this past month. It hasn't even been a month yet that they've been established, and they've been keeping the rosters separate. So does anybody really care about who reigns supreme over matchups and rosters that they've seen already throughout this entire year of 2019? So adding some world title matches kind of flavors it up a little bit. A couple years ago, they gave us Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar in Survivor Series 2 to, try to drum up some interest rather than just, brand supremacy, yes. So, but they've actually done a good job building up the brand supremacy as well with NXT. They've done a great job. Tonight went a long way. Tonight and Friday as well went a long way to building up and making me excited for this Survivor Series. I was looking at, it's like Survivor Series is coming on November 24th, and I looked at the calendar and I was like, oh man, this build is really good. And then I looked and I go, wow, only 20 days left to this. Like, I can't wait. Like, can these 20 days go by a little quicker so we can get to this show? Because that's how excited I am about it. It seems like it's going to be a really damn good show. Lesnar versus Mysterio. I'm call me crazy. I'm excited about it. I'll talk about the other matches I'm excited about too that were booked tonight. All right, let's continue on. Cedric Alexander versus Buddy Murphy. Good match. I'm a big fan of Buddy Murphy. I like Cedric Alexander. They've kind of killed him dead with his booking, which has been less than stellar because I don't know. They saddled him with the smiling guy gimmick. They do that with, like, every single African American performer gets this gimmick, the smiling guy, because they don't know what else to do with them. It's either you're a smiling guy or you're a rapper. That's the breadth of their knowledge of African Americans, pretty much. And then every now and then you get an anomaly like the New Day, but for the most part, it's just been that. It's like, do we have any other ideas? It's like, oh, we got the Street Profits, so we got Crime Time 2.0, and then we have a skinnier Apollo Crews and Cedric Alexander. Even Jordan Miles, who hates the company and threatened, if WWE doesn't contact me, I'm going to spill my guts to the world, as if he didn't do that enough last week. The whole controversy surrounding his t-shirt had to do with it being a smile, and yeah, he was insinuating that it was blackface and this and that. It was offensive. Total. I really do believe it was a total mistake. I get that it's offensive. I get that it sucks. I get that it never should have happened in the first place. But he wanted to make a big deal about it. But at the heart of everything is the reason they were doing the smile in the first place was because they gave him the smiling guy gimmick too. Jordan Miles, smiles for miles. Do they don't know how to market African Americans. Like they gave Kofi Kingston the title. They didn't know how to make him a convincing champion. They didn't know what to do with him, other than for him to talk about. So he won the title in April, May, June, July, August, September, October. For just about 6 months from winning the title, all he did was talk about how happy he was to have won the title. But there was never any more to it than that. No meat and potatoes, no good angles, no good rivalries. The thing with Randy Orton was a total nothing. It was boring at best. They gave him Samoa Joe. Boring at best. And I don't even remember who else he had. I don't even remember who else he went against. They hot-shotted his Daniel Bryan rematch program so that they could pop a rating. Nothing. It's like they had no ideas for him. No ideas. And now he's back losing in tag team turmoil in the same calendar month that he was WWE champion. So there you go. Randy M talking about Jordan Miles in there. I'm not going to repeat the verbiage that he used for Jay Lethal, but it was extremely offensive. Jordan Miles did not help himself at all in trying to make his case. He does the hashtag for the culture, but really it should be for the ACH, because that's really what this is all about. Trying to get himself over. All right. Oh, Kofi and KO. See, yeah, thank you, Machine Walls. It was Kofi and KO was the other program. That had nothing to it. Nothing. Buddy Murphy picks up the win here because I guess at this point you can do more with Buddy Murphy than you can with Cedric Alexander. Now, I talked about how the women's match went a little too long. It was 2 segments. You probably could have shaved 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes off of that thing, and it would have been better. It really would have been way better. Instead, you got 2 segments, and it dragged. And the crowd, which was already dead, wasn't into it at all. You could have taken that segment that was given to the women and tacked it onto Cedric Alexander and Buddy Murphy, because they had a good match, and it wasn't long enough. I've seen what these guys can do. I remember when they had, earlier this year, they had a cruiserweight title match when Buddy Murphy was the cruiserweight champion on 205 Live. And it was like the talk of the internet. Everybody was like, you got to see this match. You got to see this match. Well, I checked out the match. And I was like, damn, that was really good. It was really good. So I know what these guys can do. And they weren't given enough time to really show everything that they can do. It was good. Don't get me wrong. It was a good match. And I'm not going to complain. I'm happy seeing Buddy Murphy and Cedric Alexander on my television screen just doing what they do best, wrestle. But I want to like, if you're going to get people invested in them, you got to let them, if you're going to get them invested just solely on their wrestling and call Buddy Murphy the best kept secret and all that stuff, you got to show why he's the best kept secret. And you can't do that in 4-minute matches. You have to give them time. So they had some good stuff here. He got the V trigger to the back and then hit Murphy's Law for the win. I'd like to see this again. I'd like to see them get more time. Now, this next segment, bring back wife Tedesco. Pregnancy recovery is a thing, CJ. We'll get there eventually. Seth Rollins addresses losing the WWE Universal Championship. So Rollins, who has had his troubles lately, some of it is bad booking, some of it is just residual from that horrible interaction that he had with Will Ospreay over the summer that no one has forgotten about. It really damaged him a lot. I'm sure he was frustrated, with his booking and whatever, at the time they were making him, basically look like a total loser leading up to the SummerSlam match against Lesnar. He's probably frustrated. He sees Will Ospreay. Oh no, this is leading up. This is at Stomping Ground. This is back in June. And he's facing Baron Corbin with the title. And it's not a good program. Will Ospreay says that they have the best, or Seth Rollins said that they have the best wrestling, period. Will Ospreay had something to say about it, and Seth Rollins goes, well, let's compare bank accounts. And from then on out, it's been a decline, a steady decline for Seth Rollins. And the Fiend booking did not help him. Tonight, they were going, I guess, they've been trying to get him back. Like last week on Raw, they had him even do like a cheap pop. He's saying the hometown's name just to try to get anybody to cheer for him. It's just not looking pretty for him right now. And even tonight, like, and calling AEW minor league hasn't helped either. Yeah, it's like, I kind of like what Cody said about that. With Seth Rollins calling AEW minor league. They said half of wrestling promotion is just them shit talking each other. So they're not selling it. It's not that big a deal. Like obviously Rollins is a company guy. We know that. I didn't really find that one to be offensive. It's like, but if you're going to go into it and say, hey, check out my bank account. My bank account could crush yours, so that means I'm a success. Well, that doesn't mean you're a success. It means you're just really bad at arguing and making your points. Anyway, so we got Seth Rollins in the ring. He says it's been a rough couple months. He even addressed the boos that he was hearing. He said, plenty of people are probably thrilled that I lost the title to The Fiend at Crown Jewel, but I don't give a damn. What concerns me is that The Fiend took the Universal Championship to Smackdown. Lesnar's back on Raw with the WWE title. Everything I've worked for this past year in getting the title off Lesnar and changing the culture to give guys like AJ Styles and Baron Corbin a shot is a wash now. He wanted to redesign, rebuild, and reclaim, but he doesn't know if he has got the energy for it this time. So what's next for him? He doesn't know. And they did that thing where he looks like he wants to cry, where it's like, oh, stop. Why does every face have to be so lame that they cry at the drop of a dime? Like that's not how you're going to get people to care about you. It's not how you're going to get people interested. It's just not. But anyway, they sent out Triple H, and Triple H makes the hard sell for him to come over to NXT. Every time you didn't know what was next for you, you came to me and we figured it out. I made you, you came to me and you became NXT champion. Put NXT on the map. Then you came to me, you didn't know what you're doing again. You formed the Shield. Then you didn't know, then you retired with the Shield, and I made you WWE champion. So what's next? I know what's next for you. Come to NXT. Blah 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 blah. It's kind of like, Emperor Palpatine talking to Anakin Skywalker and stuff like that. It's trying to get him to turn to the dark side, even though NXT is not the dark side. Of course, it's just another brand. But on Raw, it's the heel. At Survivor Series, they got something to prove, and wouldn't it be great to have Rollins back on their side? Undisputed Era makes their way to the ring, just to try to, I guess, intimidate him into saying yes. The OC come down to protect Seth Rollins. Okay. That's a thing, I guess. Then Dominic Dijakovic and Damian Priest attack them from behind. There's a big brawl. Raw roster runs them off. Rollins is just watching what's going on in the ring. Doesn't know what to do. Catches up with Triple H backstage and says, well, if I'm going to come to NXT, I want to come in as the top guy. This isn't Friday Night SmackDown. Daniel Bryan couldn't get the job done. And I want Adam Cole for the NXT title tonight. Triple H agrees. So I'm like, wow. Because Adam Cole versus Daniel Bryan was a damn good match, and Daniel Bryan put over Adam Cole clean. So I'm like, either Seth Rollins is going to put over Adam Cole clean, or Seth Rollins is going to become the champion tonight. I really was going into it thinking that, because honestly, with Monday Night Raw, it's like I'm like the proverbial Alzheimer's patient in a whorehouse. You don't know why you keep getting screwed. I just forget about all the bad main events that I've seen, and I've seen plenty of them on this show. Main events where there's always that lame DQ finish whenever they promote something that's supposed to be big, feel cool. I really thought it was going to be a clean finish. Of course, I was wrong. Of course, but it is what it is. We got Andrade and Zelina Vega in the ring. I did like the Triple H Palpatine thing, by the way. It was good. Andrade and Zelina Vega versus Sin Cara and Carolina. But somebody needs to tell the commentators that it's Carolina, because they were still calling her Catalina because no one was really sure what they said her name was last week. And I don't know if Vic Joseph was just saying it in an exotic fashion, but it sounded like Catalina. Maybe he was trying to say Carolina or something like that, but it just kept coming off as Catalina. So there's a little bit of an identity crisis in the ring. So the whole purpose of this Catalina person, or Carolina person, is she evens the odds again for Sin Cara with Zelina Vega. So she's brought in to even the odds, and her first opportunity she gets, she actually does what she's supposed to do and takes out Zelina Vega last week, but Sin Cara still loses. So now they're in a tag team match. Carolina is running roughshod on Zelina Vega. Sin Cara and Andrade take themselves out, and Vega then just pins her with a Hurricanrana DDT. So the whole debut of Carolina is just lame. It just didn't work out. It's a really, really bad way to introduce a character. A really, really bad way, which is it's like the female version of how they're introducing Humberto Carrillo right now, where it's like, hey, welcome to the roster. Here's a brand new guy. Let's make him lose all the time. That'll make people care about him. No. So this whole thing is just not working out. Rusev's in the ring. Again, this is another... Call me crazy, but I enjoyed the Rusev, Lana, Bobby Lashley love triangle thing tonight. Call me crazy, but I actually thought it was a lot of fun. We got a Rusev Day chant going, so people still remember that gimmick. He isn't here to bicker with his soon-to-be ex-wife, Lana. He's not here to call her names, but he is here for Bob Lashley. I love that he calls him Bob Lashley. That's great. Rusev wants to tell him man-to-man, if he wants Lana, she's all his, but his ass belongs to him. Good stuff. Bobby Lashley comes out on crutches, says that he'd love to beat Rusev up, but he's not medically cleared because he has torn his groin, but he didn't tear it at Crown Jewel or training. He tore his groin doing things that Rusev could only fantasize about with Lana. So I thought that was it was trashy humor, but I don't know. Every now and then I get a kick out of trashy humor. And then they just said that they found somebody else that volunteered to kick Rusev's ass, and it turned out to be Drew McIntyre. And at first I was like, why would they put Drew in this? And why would Drew even though it's like a storyline and they just put Drew with them, why take out the fact that it's a storyline, why would Drew McIntyre, the character, help out these two idiots? And then it's like, okay, well, short-term wrestling memory, you forget already that Team Flair and Team Hogan was a thing and they were on opposite sides. So it kind of does make sense. And Drew McIntyre and Rusev actually wound up having a pretty decent match. I liked the two of those guys together. I thought they were really good. Lashley, of course, was faking the injury, hits Rusev with the crutch. Rusev wins by DQ, but it's a Pyrrhic victory because he gets beat up. But he does get the better of Lashley, goes to hit him with the crutch. But out of nowhere, Randy Orton comes up and gives him an RKO. So I know there was like some kind of rumor that Randy Orton pitched starting up a stable or something like that. You got Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre, and Bobby Lashley. They were in the ring together tonight, so maybe, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. But I feel like I've kind of seen Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley in a stable already that kind of killed the Raw ratings, but that was with Baron Corbin. Maybe if Randy Orton leads it, maybe it'll be better. Anyway, Ricochet comes out and makes the save, helps Rusev out. Then he hits Lashley with a baseball slide that sends him into Lana, knocking her over. So that's what happened there. Not bad stuff. Maybe it's a guilty pleasure thing, but I kind of liked it. I didn't outwardly hate it here. It was pretty good. And that RKO out of nowhere was excellent too. Actually, you know what? I should probably just show a damn gif of it because it was expertly hit by Randy Orton. Boom. Yeah, and of course WWE production, the best in the world. Never saw that coming. That was set up so perfectly. Like the RKO out of nowhere really works because of the camera angles that they do it with. They plan it out so perfectly. They're always in the right spot. It's never like, oh, I think I see Randy Orton in the background getting ready to slide into the ring. You never see crap like that. It's just Randy. It's just hit perfectly every single time. Top-notch production. WWE is the king in terms of wrestling with that by far. Okay. Charlie Caruso backstage with Becky Lynch. Says she's had a great 2019, but now she has a tough task of facing SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley and NXT Women's Champion Shayna Baszler at Survivor Series. Lynch says that that's a dangerous triple threat and she's the target because she beat Bayley's buddy Sasha Banks and sent Baszler's friend Ronda Rousey, of course, running. That brings up Shayna Baszler, who takes Charlie Caruso's seat, and Shayna Baszler has a really great exchange with Becky Lynch. Really, really great exchange. And Becky Lynch, at certain points of this year, has really done a great job putting over matches. In particular, the Sasha Banks stuff, where she had a really, really great impassioned promo after Sasha Banks did the heel turn. The next week she came and just totally made this feud, which was a good feud. It was always going to be a good feud with Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch because of the angle that started it off. But Becky Lynch made it must-see TV with the promo that she did backstage. And it was actually a tape promo because she had just gotten engaged to Seth Rollins. They weren't even there. So they had her in a tape promo, and it was straight fire. It was really, really good. And they did it again tonight. Baszler comes in. She says that Lynch is always thought of as a shining example of the greatness that can come from NXT. She's trained with Ronda Rousey, and Lynch beat her at WrestleMania, so she wants to make something clear. She's not Ronda Rousey, and at Survivor Series, she's not going to take her eyes off Bayley, but she wants to come eye-to-eye, champion to champion, that she's going to pin Lynch or tap her out. So they're not going to ignore Bayley, but she's going into that match with the sole purpose of tapping out Becky Lynch or pinning her. The only thing Lynch needs to think about at Survivor Series is which of her limbs will belong to her. So Lynch says she doesn't know Baszler, so she doesn't know if she should respect her or slap her head off. She got a chance to talk so she can feel how Ronda felt. Warring with her will change Shayna Baszler like it did the rest of them. She also won't take her eyes off of Bayley, but she's coming directly for her. And man, I was so pumped up after this promo. It was like, do we really need Bayley in this at all? Do we really, seriously? Can they just do a fake injury angle and take her out of this? Because I really, really want to see Shayna Baszler and Becky Lynch. And obviously that's going to be the triple threat at Survivor Series, but this is a match you could see on another big show. I'm not saying it's going to be a WrestleMania match and it wouldn't be like the main event or anything like that. It could be Royal Rumble. It could be any time after this Survivor Series and whatever happens with NXT and the other two Raw brands. There's some money there. There's some real money in Shayna Baszler and Becky Lynch. They showed it tonight. It really, really was. It was great. Now, obviously, they did take a lot of steam off of Bayley. How are they going to counteract that? I know that they want to stay firm on, no crossover. Raw and SmackDown, there can be no crossover whatsoever. How does Bayley get that steam back? Because she was basically just made an afterthought by this promo. How is she going to get her steam back? That's the interesting thing. That's why I'd like to keep watching SmackDown and see what she does. Because she has to make an impact somehow. I just don't know how she's going to do it. Anyway, so we got the OC coming to the ring, and after this really great piece of business, we had something completely cringy. AJ Styles, he does his promo. They don't give a damn about NXT, and if they ever see one of those punks, they'll make sure that they never step foot of Orlando, Florida again. Street Profits come out. Now, the Street Profits, again, I talked about this last week. They've been the hosts of Raw, and that's it. Like 2 weeks ago, they had their first match, and then last week they did an in-ring promo, and it didn't really go over well. People don't know who they are. The Raw guest, the Raw host things, they were backstage segments, and if you're watching a 3-hour show, you know that these guys aren't wrestling, and they're just supposed to be hosting Raw. The segments were entertaining. I enjoyed them, but I could absolutely see people saying okay, I'm going to take this time to go get a snack or a drink or go to the bathroom, just relax. This is just going to be something in the background. Not a lot of people are getting the Street Profits gimmick yet and really connecting to them yet. And I think WWE thinks that they're just automatically supposed to because they were the hosts of Raw for 2 months. They really got to do a better job establishing them. But they have so much charisma. Montez Ford, Angelo Dawkins, they have so much charisma. I have no doubt they're going to get over. They're going to be just fine. But until then, we kind of have to sit through these kind of like quiet promos. But again, also, Long Island crowd sucked tonight. They had Humberto Carrillo with them, and Carrillo at this point has lost his first 3 matches. Granted, they were against Seth Rollins and AJ Styles, but and the other win was on the Crown Jewel Battle Royal. He had 1 win on the kickoff show, which if hardly anybody watches the main show, how many people are going to watch the kickoff show? So, like, honestly, I just remember that he won that Battle Royal. It's just hard to get invested in a guy that, yeah, he was on 205 Live. No one watches 205 Live. 205 Live doesn't even crack the most viewed shows on WWE Network in 1 week. So, no, like, literally, he comes in as almost a complete unknown. Not even really a video package introduction for him. Nothing kind of saying what he can do. Yeah, he's had some good matches. The matches are decent, but at the end of the day, here's a guy he's put in there with, some big names, and he loses. He's just the loser. They have him try to do a promo. It didn't work out. It just got cringy. They kept making him say that the that the Street Profits beat the OC 2 weeks ago, and he kept saying it. He said it in Spanish, and each time, the law of diminishing returns. It's just it wasn't good to begin with, and then that reaction just kept getting less and less and less. It didn't do him any favors trying to get him over. And then they have the OC versus the Street Profits and Humberto Carrillo. And yes, the OC was... They did win the trophy because we had to have the greatest tag team turmoil match of all time to become the best tag team in the world. We talked about this on Thursday, me and Paul Nemmer on Wrestleview Live. Why does everything in Saudi Arabia, like every time they go over there, why do they always have to have a tournament to determine the best this, or this is the greatest Royal Rumble, or the best tag team in the world? Everything's got to be the greatest or the best, or this is the most amazing. It's annoying. It's like so stupid. So I get it. Now the OC, because they beat They beat the New Day and the Viking Raiders, so now they're the best tag team in the world. So I guess they shouldn't be losing on Raw. They shouldn't lose ever again. They're the best tag team in the world. But they did defeat the Street Profits and Humberto Carrillo. And this time Styles pinned him with a power bomb and pinned him with his feet on the ropes. So it wasn't exactly like Humberto Carrillo slipped on a banana peel. He did just get power bombed directly into the mat. And then AJ Styles pinned him with his feet on the ropes. But it wasn't like... I don't know. It just doesn't do him any favors. Now he's lost 4 matches, in singles matches at least, in high-profile situations. So they could have had anybody else take that pin, but it was Humberto Carrillo, and we're supposed and the commentators are supposed to get him to save face by saying, "Well, Humberto Carrillo got robbed here. He had him in his the guy just got power bombed into the mat, stiff power bomb." He wasn't exactly jiving right at that exact moment, so it's just bad visuals that they leave him off with. Viking Raiders versus the East Hampton Polo Boys. I love when, as we get as every now and then when they do an act which they just are solely for squashing jobbers, like when they did Ryback when he would just murder jobbers, they would just give them goofy names and maybe a goofy gimmick. They've been doing this with the Viking Raiders lately. Last week they had the Chicago Cubs in St. Louis. Now tonight they have the East Hampton Polo Boys. Viking Raiders killed them. It was just fun. It's fun to watch. The promo that they did after the match was literally everything I hate about WWE scripted promos, all rolled into one ugly, ugly ball. Thank the gods, because you may have won the battle, but nothing can stop the raid. I mean, like, Ivar's a big guy, and he delivered the line fine, but before that, and they didn't put this in the WWE tweet, but he said, oftentimes victory is nothing more than survival. It's like, yeah, okay. Whenever I say something, it's like the very first thing that comes to mind if I want to compare something is say, oftentimes. It's like, I just got through with a match. Oftentimes. Just that stupid verbiage that just never sounds natural. It doesn't sound like somebody speaking. It sounds like somebody remembering lines from a script. I hated it. Ugh. It hurt them. It almost made me not enjoy the East Hampton Polo Boys thing. Almost. NXT Championship, Seth Rollins versus Adam Cole. Good match while it lasted. Actually, it was better than good. It had the opportunity to be great. I loved what they were doing. Neither of them got the better of anybody. They were doing counters to counters and stuff like that. So it wasn't really a match where anybody really made any serious headway. But it could have been pretty damn good. But unfortunately, there was the finish. They had Triple H at ringside, sitting there watching, and I did like the commentators. The commentary team was great here. Jerry Lawler, Vic Joseph. Who's Triple H rooting for in this match? What is he thinking? What is he thinking watching this? It was really good stuff, and you're kind of like wondering, like, what's going to happen here? Is Triple H going to turn? Is he going to just let the result happen? Like, what's it going to be? I honestly thought Seth Rollins was going to walk away as the champion, and I thought they were going to do maybe just a little bit just to kind of boost the ratings of NXT, have Seth Rollins appear on the show, until Survivor Series, and then just wind up leaving, or turning on NXT and rejoining Raw or something like that and dropping the title back. I thought something like that was going to happen. Instead, we got the DQ finish, just like we had for the winner-take-all match with Seth Rollins and Kofi Kingston in the main event of Raw the night after WrestleMania. DQ, just like every other big match that they promote as like, you must tune in and see this, and then they give you a DQ finish because they don't want anybody to lose, obviously. Seth Rollins just lost to the Fiend, so he's weakened, and Adam Cole, they don't want him to lose the NXT title, so no one, it's just lazy, it's boring. It's like, why book it in the first place? You just leave your audience, which I talked about earlier with the metrics that the financial report showed, an audience that is already kind of dwindling and not willing. They'll still watch, but they're not willing to spend as much money going to your events as they used to be. And the only reason, again, so going just real quick about the financials. The only reason they really even saved face on some of the financials for the live events is that they raised the prices of the tickets. So we have less people going, so we just raise the prices on the people that are already willing to go. They'll pay it, but is that really a great way to build your audience? I don't know. It just leaves you feeling like, why did I invest any time in this? But they did do a good brawl that kind of pulled it all together, kind of saved it. Raw roster runs down because it's the Undisputed Era attacking Seth Rollins. And I guess they didn't really get any good shots of this. So I talked about how good WWE production is on the RKOs out of nowhere. The commentators claim that Triple H was barking orders at the NXT talent, but there was really no good shot of him doing that. I did see Triple H stumble in the background as bodies were flying and all that stuff, but there was nothing that said Triple H was behind this attack or anything, like anything like that. So anyway, Ricochet hits everybody with a shooting star press plancha, and then the best. I love everything about Keith Lee. So first, let's watch Ricochet because he's great, and obviously everything he does is smooth and super great. Shooting star press onto everybody. Basically, he did the shooting star press, and he directly took out Eric Rowan, who's on the Raw roster. So, but everybody fell down like dominoes. So it's still a great looking visual, but Eric Rowan took the brunt of that entire thing. But Keith Lee. Right as they're about to lose the feed, Keith Lee hits this. Big Keith Lee, my favorite thing about recapping NXT on Wednesdays, Keith Lee hits a somersault plancha on everybody. Oh, I love that. Keith Lee is just one of the most incredible athletes I've ever seen in the ring, just for his size. The guy is just phenomenal. Really, really great. What he can do, the sky's the limit for him. Really, the sky is the limit. He could be really great. He's got good facials. He's got just great moves, the whole package. We'll see if he can cut a promo. So anyway, the finish was lame, but the brawl was super hot to end the show. So I guess they kind of leave you feeling good about that. But overall, Lesnar, the Seth Rollins tease, even the match, even though it ended in DQ, the match itself was still pretty good, and the brawl after was excellent. I can't give this show a thumbs down. I thought it was pretty damn good, and it got me really excited for Survivor Series. Really, really excited. I mean, I know I'm excited when I look at the calendar. I'm like, I know it's coming November 24th. Oh, it's the 4th. Only 20 days left. And now I'm looking at the calendar right now. And I'm like, oh, good. It's the 5th now. Only 19 days left till Survivor Series. That's how I can gauge my excitement. I am very, very excited about Survivor Series. They did a great job building that up. And with that was Monday Night Raw. What do you think in the chat room? I'm going to check the Twitter poll real quick, but please let me know in the chat room. Do you give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down? What did you think? Victoria's off screen. Victoria, what did you give Raw? She said up, but it had a questioning tone to it. She's not really sure, but she's going to let's just say Victoria gives it a thumbs up. 69 thumbs up from Daniel Schell, of course. Actually, wait, was that what Twitter poll said? Oh my God. Twitter poll is very close to Daniel Schell. Clinton CJ gives it a wee. All right. I give Raw a wee. I guess it's a thumbs up. Let's see. Thumbs up from Quentin. All right. Dangerously close to Daniel Schell's thumbs up. 70% thumbs up from the Twitterverse on the Raw poll there. 70%. So I'm just waiting for somebody in the chat room to go over to Twitter and give it one thumbs down to get it over to 69%. Very odd that so many times these polls always wind up at 69%. It's got to be rigged. It's got to be rigged. I blame the Russians. Trevor Mishke gives it a thumbs up. Daniel Schell, bastards. Yes. Yeah, this was a really good show. A great follow-up. Really, really good follow-up to SmackDown. I'm looking forward to watching SmackDown this week. I am really, really looking forward to watching NXT. Even though I know that they're taking off, let me check. I don't have the WWE schedule up right now. I have a whole spreadsheet of that. I don't feel like pulling it up right now. But I believe the European tour starts on Thursday. So they could, in theory, send some talent out to Winter Springs at Full Sail University at the NXT Arena to do a run-in on Wednesday. I'm really excited to see what they do on Wednesday. And honestly, AEW is doing a great job. And this is AEW's go-home show for Full Gear. And that's another show I'm totally excited about. Really, really excited about it. NXT could very well, for the first time, beat AEW in this Wednesday night war. This could, if there's going to be a week where they beat them, it's going to be this week. It really is. Just out of the curiosity of this NXT invasion and the great job that they've done with it. I just hope that people aren't tainted by the finish of the NXT title on Monday from this Raw. We'll see. James Lacerenza in the chat room tonight. Or as Quentin Walters calls him, James Influenza. So that's there. Machoon Walls gives it a thumbs up. Billy Hefner gives it a thumbs up. So we got that going on. All right. So I'm excited about it. I can't wait to recap NXT on Wednesday. I can't wait for Full Gear on Saturday. Be on the lookout for Wrestleview Live. I will be covering AEW Full Gear after the conclusion of that. So please come and check that out. Should be a really good show. Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley, even though I think that it was a huge mistake for them to put Jon Moxley in the tights that he's wearing on Dynamite, because he doesn't look as in shape as he looked when he made his return to Raw last year as Dean Ambrose. Remember when he came back from the big triceps injury and he was just jacked? Like Dean Ambrose looked the best I've ever seen him look. I give this stream a thumbs up. Thank you, James. If you like the stream, if you like what you're seeing, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet to this channel, please subscribe. Absolutely. Midnight post show because it's AEW. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I kind of hope that they follow WWE's lead and kind of end the shows early like they've been doing lately. If you're going to take anything from WWE and copy them, that should be it. Start bringing the shows back a little bit. I'm still tickled pink over the fact that SummerSlam was 3.5 hours and that was it. So they're kind of getting back to the way things should be. 3-hour pay-per-views. That's all it really needs to be. Anything else is just overkill. Even Jericho Cody, I'm looking forward to. They've done a really good job building up those angles. Young Bucks versus Santana Ortiz. It's gonna be a good card. It's gonna be a really good card. It's fun to be a wrestling fan right now. Even though I talked about how, it's kind of the industry as a whole is cold. It's still, if you're watching, you're being rewarded right now for watching. It's good stuff. On that note, I'm going to sign off here because I got to go back to work tomorrow. So it's been a long day for me. I got to get to sleep. But it was good talking to you all. I appreciate everybody stopping by and checking out the show. I'm Mike Tedesco, editor-in-chief of Wrestleview. I am also a father, so I have to go check on my baby and see how she's doing. Looking forward to being back with you on Saturday. So we'll see you then, and we'll definitely be back for Post Raw 59 next week. Have a good one, everybody, and take care.